Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we're going to look at psychoanalytic feminism. This is a theory of gender oppression, not of gender inequality. What that means, sorry, I was just making sure that I'd written theory of oppression up there. What that means is that it answers that fundamental question of where are the women in any situation. And it says not only are they in an unequal position relative to men, but the reason that they are there is men have put them there deliberately and intentionally. So the answer has to do with women being oppressed by men. Key to this whole thing is our understanding of patriarchy, which is down here. I'll get into this whole thing in just a little bit. It's funky and it's a little bit it's hard for me, but there's a lot of evidence that suggests that every step of the theory is correct. But the idea of patriarchy is pretty specifically understood in psychoanalytic feminism as a deliberate, a deliberately sustained system of inequality. So we want to think of patriarchy not as I've kind of used the term androcentric culture interchangeably with patriarchy at times during this whole course. For psychoanalytic feminism, we don't want to think about it that way. It is not a culture that reflects men's interests and experiences. For psychoanalytic feminists, it is a power structure that is sustained by strong and deliberate intention. Men build a system to oppress women. That's how we define patriarchy in psychoanalytic feminism. Okay, so here's the situation with psychoanalytic feminism. They don't look at people as making pragmatic, practical decisions that then build up into a society. This is not rational choice. This is very, very much irrational in the sense that they find the motivation for people's actions, both men and women, as rooted in their infancy. So psychoanalytic is straight out of Freud, although Freud is somewhat famously not a feminist. And so the psychoanalytic feminists are saying this whole idea of unconscious motivation, we're going to take that, let's get rid of the sexist part. And here's what they say. Human beings have, and I'm sorry, I kind of ran out of room. This is key, so I'm going to give you a couple of terms that are really important right now. Human beings have sort of twin desires for individuation and for recognition. So let's start with individuation. What that means is the desire to individuate means to separate off. And so this is about freedom. The desire for individuation is the desire to be able to be free to act in whatever way I want. The desire for recognition has to do with kind of the opposite. To be recognized is to be recognized by somebody else. It is to have your worth confirmed by another person. So you can see, to begin with, this starting point is we want to be free to be ourselves, but we also want recognition from other people. So there's a tension, an inherent tension that psychoanalytic feminists are saying is there from birth, for both men and women. But remember, they are growing, they are born into a patriarchy. Now we're gonna talk about how the patriarchy gets produced, but it's important to understand this is more of a circle than what I've made it look like. It's like it goes from childhood to men and women to patriarchy, then they have kids, and then it goes to men and women, and so it's a cycle. So boys and girls, babies, are born into a patriarchy, and a patriarchy values men more than women. Remember, particularly in psychoanalytic feminism. So they say, okay, so here's what happens. A boy we'll start with boys. Boys are growing up, and they are attached to their mother, but they also are getting this understanding that mothers are not worth as much. Women are not worth as much in society as men are. And so that desire to individuate kicks into high gear. I have got to separate from my mom. I have got to become my own person, and I am motivated to do that. But at the same time, I still have this need for confirmation. So I need a woman. I just need to be separate from her. And what the psychoanalytic feminists say is that that fuels this energy to oppress. I need a woman, but I need to be able to be separate from her, but I need confirmation from her, but I don't want to be dependent on her. And there's this tremendous amount of energy that psychoanalytic feminists say is produced by this tension existing in a patriarchy. So men have got a ton of energy to oppress women. What happens for women? Well, they have these same desires for individuation on the one hand and recognition on the other hand, but they're girls, and they grow up in a patriarchy, and they see, oh, okay, so my mom isn't worth as much as my dad because it's a patriarchy, and women aren't worth as much as men. But I'm going to be a woman, and so this kind of causes me some internal conflict. And what they say is there is this deep, I love my mom and I'm connected to her, but I want to individuate, but I'm kind of fated to be this thing that is not as valued. And what the psychoanalytic feminists say is that it dissipates their energy. They should be energized to resist the suppression, but they're not, because it's like this mixed positive negative feeling that isn't it kind of muddies the motivational waters for them. And so women end up not energized to resist. And so why does patriarchy continue? It's because you've got a bunch of motivated men who want to oppress women because they need to individuate, but they also need a woman there to be able to recognize them. And women don't have equal amounts of energy to resist. That's it. Honestly, uncomfortably, there's evidence for this. It still is hard for me to kind of buy. I think because, and maybe it's because the whole thing is like this irrational motivation that roots everything about our lives in childhood. And really, the psychoanalytic feminists are rooting it, sort of in this pre-verbal connection to the mother. So I don't know. I'm not sure about it. It seems to me as though there are maybe more parsimonious, like simpler, more straightforward reasons for the fact that women are not able to, I should have connected this, that men energized to oppress, women not energized to resist creates that patriarchy. And it seems to me like, the fact that girls are born into a situation where men have more power and men are the ones who are selecting the leaders of the next generation, like, that strikes me as being a more parsimonious explanation for patriarchy's persistence. Is that just, it's changing, but it's changing slowly. But, smarter people than I am came up with this. Okay, that's good for that. Psychoanalytic feminism, again, is a theory of oppression, and it roots that oppression in a deep psychological base, I guess you would say. That's it for this. We have one more theory of oppression that we're going to deal with. That will be in our next video, where we talk about radical feminism. So I will see you then.